Let me tell you a story. It comes from Rumi. So there is this bird. The bird lives in a cage. And one day the owner says, I'm going to go to India. And one of the customs that exists in the Middle East is that when you go somewhere, you ask your parents, you ask your siblings, you ask your friends, your relatives, if there is something that they wish from India. So the bird says, yes, I want something. And the owner says, what is it? He says, well, you know, when you go to India, go to this place called Dehradun, and you will see this particular tree. Look up and you will see birds that look just like me, and tell them my story. That you have a bird in Oakland, lives in a cage, has all these songs to sing, but no one is there to listen to the songs. So the bird is quiet, silent, and she has been silent for many years. In addition, tell them that your bird in Oakland that lives in a cage also has wings, but the bird doesn't fly. The cage is far too small. And the guy looks at his bird and says, well, that's a very strange request, but fine. On his way back, remembers his bird's request, goes to this particular place, looks up, there are all these birds. They look at this man and they say, what are you doing here? And he says, I have a bird. Has all these songs but never sings. Has wings but doesn't fly. And when he's done telling the story, one of the birds from the very top of the branch falls to the ground and dies. And the owner is saddened. Comes back to Oakland, the bird asks him, well, did you tell them my story? Yes. And when the owner is finished telling his own bird the story of what happened in Dehradun, India, his own bird falls to the bottom of the cage and dies. The owner opens the cage, grabs the bird, throws in the garden so he can go and bury it, but the bird, upon leaving his hand, flies away. First loss. And it's something that has happened to all of us. You're a kid, you run around your house, you break things, you're inspired. You're like this true existentialist. You only do things that feel good to you. You're there only for fun. And your funs are innocent. They're simple. They're profound. They're meaningful to you. I want to watch Sonic. I want to watch Harry Potter. I want to break the window. Just want to see what lives inside all the stuff. They're fully alive. And it takes parents many years of screaming to beat the inspiration out of this kid. And then they become like us. And then at a certain point in your life, and I'm not sure how it happens, and this is the thing you need to understand, no one can be told what they are losing. It's something that needs to be understood from within, and I don't know how it happens. And that's the real education, that you don't know the value of your car until it's gone. You don't know the value of being young and having time and having money and having energy until it's gone. Your parents keep telling you, go to school, don't go out with that loser, but you assume that you know better, like Moses, that you have the capacity for a great amount of abuse. Now, the first thing that the bird in the cage comes to realize is, I used to sing. What the hell happened to me? I never sing anymore. Why? Well, you used to sing. First, you used to sing for yourself. It sounded really good to your own ears. Then after a while, you said, why don't I share what I hear with other people? And you did, only to realize people don't really care. It's the painting by Edvard Munch, Norwegian painter. It's called The Scream. You know, initially you scream when you're born and your parents run to you. They give you milk, they take care of you. And as you age and you're screaming, it changes a little bit. And then little by little, they stop running to you. They say, oh, just take care of your own stuff, I'm busy. And it begins at a very young age where you realize it doesn't really matter how loud you scream or how much you scream, your parents simply are far too busy. What you have in the painting is, you know, you think that people have compassion and forgiveness and empathy and all that stuff, and life is tough for you. You scream, and there are people, no one cares. And so what happens is, you scream, but now you don't scream outwardly, you scream inwardly. And if you go back to Sigmund Freud, the boiler system that you have on the inside, you scream so much for so many years that after a while you just explode. You become profoundly abusive to yourself or other people. So the first thing you need to understand is this bird used to sing, and he's okay with being quiet. At a certain point, he wants to sing but doesn't know how to go about it anymore. He had wings. Consider wings to be hopes and dreams that all of us in this class have had. Hopes about a good relationship, going to school and finishing up quickly, having children perhaps, being good to your parents, being healthy, whatever your hopes and dreams may be about. But now you're just wingless, you have no hope. So that's the first thing you need to understand about this bird, that there is this awareness, and it's a stinging, painful awareness, that I used to have this, I used to do this, but I have them no more and I can do them no more. You may still be profoundly inspired, but nobody cares. And that awareness creates pain. Pain is about loss. Pain is the opposite of comfort, of health. And you're acutely aware that you have lost something. Now, the grief doesn't just come, first you're a little angry, then you're a little lonely, then you become a little sad, then you become sorrowful, and then you have grief. I mean, you're in this cradle of darkness. And you just sit there. You know, it's kind of like when a love relationship don't work out too well, you sit in your room and you turn off the lights and your mom comes, your dad comes and says, dinner is ready, and you don't answer. You scream at first. When you're done with screaming and you're tired and exhausted of screaming, all you do is just remain quiet. You don't have the time or the energy to scream anymore. And so what happens is you're looking for the ending of things when the loss and the grief is really, 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 really intense. Now remember, you suffer grief because you had something, you lost it. You have to be profoundly aware and you have to be in the cradle of this awareness. It's not going to leave you. Here's the other thing you need to understand about the story. The bird doesn't talk about his lament, about his history, about the fact that he has wings but lost them. He has songs but no longer sings. He doesn't just talk about his or her sorrow to anyone. Are you asking me why I no longer sing because you're curious? Are you asking because you really care? Is your care only from 10 to 10:15? Or is what I tell you, is it going to sink inside you and you're going to go out there? Look for a way to remedy my situation. Don't just talk about your stuff to anyone. I mean, you need to understand how difficult this stuff is. Recognize what you have lost. Make sure you've moved into a place of complete silence. You're no longer flying. You know what you've lost. A great husband or a wife or a class or a car or a parent. And now you're just anchored. You can't move. No desire is intense enough to move you. You have to be focused. That you can't be distracted if you have suffered a loss and you know what you've lost. As long as you have options, what you lose and what you're grieving about means absolutely nothing. Now, this fellow has the capacity, the privilege of being able to hold his behind to India. Now, here's the thing you need to understand. If you were a writer, if you used to write every single day and now you have lost inspiration, don't share your sorrow with a mason. Make sure you find a writer who's gone through those episodes. You need to have commonality in sorrow, in grief, in loss, in awareness. The bird tells the man, go talk to those birds. They understand loss. Now, here's the other thing that we should talk about, which is the cage itself. The cage can be symbolic for anything. It could be about your past. Imagine you've gone with a guy or a gal, things didn't work out, and someone says to you, start dating. But you say, no, I'm still thinking about Joe Schmo. You want freedom from the cage, start dating. No, I like the prison I've created. So after a while you say, okay, fine, live in it. All of us have no choice but to live in some sort of a cage. There is a cage or the prison of the culture, prison of your past, your history, prison of your parents, prison of your own temperament. And so ultimately it depends what sort of a cage you want to put yourself in. And that brings us to this man named Jean-Paul Sartre. Human beings, he argued, they're absolutely free. You can do whatever. Pick your cage. But in order to move into a different cage, you have to get rid of the cage you've been in. And there is your detachment, there is your freedom, there is your grief, all of it very, very difficult, nearly impossible.